I'm going to read to you from my short story, The Grove of Mohini, which won this year's Saints+Sinners literary contest. I send it out to everyone who's going down to New Orleans this weekend for the festival, and I wish I could be there with you. So, in this story, Leo and Stefan are attending their longtime friend Gavin's gala housewarming party, where he's showing off his new wealth to the A-gays of Toronto. Early in the evening, Gavin takes Leo and Stefan for a private tour of his new Versailles. Now the house was abuzz with guests, and Leo asked Gavin, "Don't you have to go play host?" "I'm waiting to make a grand entrance," Gavin said, checking the lacquered lay of his thinning hair in a gilded hallway mirror. "And there's one more room on the tour, one that only my two oldest friends will appreciate." They came around a corner into a short stub of a hall with a single door. "Welcome," Gavin said with a hand on his heart, "to the Hall of Memory." He held the door open for them, and Leo and Stefan stepped inside. The first thing Leo saw was an old white yachting cap, hung on the wall like a hunting trophy. He gasped, "You have Marco's hat!" Stefan came up beside him, and Leo could feel the tension before his friend even spoke. "Gavin, we wanted to bury Marco in this hat. You knew that. You watched me freak out at the hospital, blaming the nurses for losing it, but it was you who took it all along." Gavin clenched his fists like a child about to have a tantrum. "Marco was my lover. I had the right to take whatever I wanted." Leo watched Stefan's eyes fill with angry tears. It occurred to him that anger could be a defense against pain. Because even when an ache is familiar, 30 years and counting in this case, it still hurt. In its heyday, their group had comprised 16 beautiful and horny young men, laughing, drinking, and dancing their way through Toronto's gay community. Leo remembered them marching on police headquarters following the bathhouse raids. They were part of a throng, 4,000 strong, blocking traffic, chanting, demanding reform. After being raised in shame, they were claiming a place in the sun for their queer brothers and sisters. Then, barely a year later, the first confirmed death in Canada from the gay plague. Stunned, they had watched each other vanish like the shrinking guest list in an Agatha Christie play. One senseless death after another, no time between for shock to abate. 16 friends, and all that was left were the three in this room, the only ones granted the time to lose their youthful beauty and contemplate a more prosaic death. And there they were before him, all 16 hanging on the wall of Gavin's shrine, Jimmy, Jay, Alphonse, Kitty, Marco, smiling, blowing kisses, each 4x5 portrait in its own neat gray frame. All of a sudden, Leo understood the grotesque plan of the decor. "Gavin, what have you done?" he said. A tall and narrow bookshelf, festooned with artifacts of their youth, stood like a monolith in the middle of the wall. Hung to one side were 13 pictures. On the other side, 3. The living and the dead, separated by a tower of protest buttons, butt plugs, and glitter-strewn drag gear, a vertical river Styx, rising to silence any question of who was cold and gone and who still warm. Now it was Leo's turn to wrap his grief in anger. "Gavin, you asshole! You've atomized us! Where are all the group pictures, the picnics on Hanlon? Where's the one where we're marching up Yonge Street together singing Power to the People? That's who we were!" "We were individuals too," Gavin protested. "I'm honoring each and every—" Leo shouted over him. "It's a goddamn scoreboard. The ones on that side lost, right? And we're the winners. Why? Because we're still alive?" "Yes," Gavin shot back. "The three of us are still here, and I feel good about that. I'm sick of fucking survivor guilt, okay? We cared for them. We watched them rot before our eyes. We fucking buried them when their families wouldn't. Well, I'm still alive. I'm successful, and I have a fucking house on the ravine to prove it. Leo could see tears in Gavin's eyes, but he didn't care. Stefan was still in front of the yachting cap, his long fingers touching it with tender reverence. You broke up with Marco when he got sick, Gavin, he said, his voice rising. You couldn't handle it, remember? That was 6 months before he died. You have no right to this hat. Leo almost screamed as his usually serene friend ripped the relic right off the wall, tearing the hook and a piece of drywall out in the process, and ran away down the hall. Leo took a quick look into Gavin's wounded, unbelieving eyes and ran after Stefan, the two friends flying down the grand staircase like fugitives. Thank you and enjoy Saints and Sinners. Bye-bye.